Hello. We are building software as a service for music publishers and documenting the process. Couple of days ago, Dave introduced my music metadata open source library, particularly Territory part. Today we are integrating it into the SaaS. Before we start, let's take a step back and look at our tiers. We have 3, original, administrator and sub-publisher. Only the last tier deals with territories. Wait, you will say, how did we get from authentication to sub-publishing with nothing in between? Let me explain.
We have a lot of ready code. Much of would be on the critical path of the project if we did not.
Look at the bottom line. But why do we have it? You may ask. A fair question. One of our alpha testers suggested it. We did a little experiment. For this, I just put some code on top of DMP, my free open source project. Here is an example of a CWR output. Note that sub-publishing AVNs collect for the United States. Okay, back to the SaaS. We have covered users last time. DMP only had interface for editing writers with affiliations for performance, mechanical and sync. In the SaaS, we have the interface for editing publishers as well. And both have territorial affiliations, though the visibility of this feature depends on the tier. Integrating it into Django is quite straightforward. One creates a sorted list of tuples, which is then used in a char field as choices. In this case, we are also adding a default. It means all unspecified territories, not all territories, aka world. Then, we perform some cleaning in the form set. First we let the superclass perform its own. Then we create a territory list and go through the forms. If any form is invalid, we will let the user deal with it first. In our validation, we will simply keep including territories from each of the forms. Note that we are ignoring the default. It cannot be wrong. We will catch any value error and add its string representation to the form as validation error. This ensures we will have no overlapping territories, as I will show you in the interface. Here we tried to set affiliation with PRS as worldwide, and affiliation with ASCAP for the US. But world includes the US. We should use default instead. Now it worked. PRS is the default for all territories not listed below. Okay, let's have a look at sub-publishing agreement code. The SaaS supports only general sub-publishing agreements. This means all collectible shares for all works for a certain territory are transferred from the assigner to the acquirer. The model is very simple, 2 foreign keys to the parties, the territory applies to and an optional society assigned agreement number. The magic is in the validation and CWR generation. I almost forgot, default choices for territories do not include default, as in affiliations. Okay, CWR. Focus on SPT lines. A single sub-publishing agreement for the US was applied. We can see that the original publisher still collects for the world, signified by I-2136, except the US, signified by I-0840. I-0840 in the SPT line for the sub-publisher tells us that they collect there. If you are interested in learning more about CWR, we have a whole playlist about it. And, next week, Dave and I will be covering it in more detail. Here are playlists about the SaaS we are building, about free open source Django music publisher, and about music publishing. Share with music industry professionals. Thank you, and I will see you next week.